No.
The picturesque viewpoint. I'd like to start this side of the top, on the other side of the top.
Welcome to sunny Shuttleworth. As you probably know, it's always like this here. It never rains. Well, it's rained more this year, I think, than it has done. You're very welcome. It's the Mark 5C. I was very lucky to be asked to fly it. I've done 4 flights in it so far. And the last flight I did on it was perfect. Just nothing actually left to do. This is Derek, who has been involved in the project since it started. I think it's 12 years to get to this stage. And they've done a great job. It's not easy to take one of these things to bits. The right wing's got a new spar in it, which had to be made specially, and the jig that was in the hangar there that was made specially to make sure the wing, when it's put back together again, was the same shape as it was when it was taken apart. Every single individual rivet was drilled out, and a lot of work, a lot of patience, a lot of involved. So it's got pneumatics, hydraulics, avionics, propeller, engine, but as far as I know, it's all been, as much as possible, has been done in-house to keep the cost down of it. Because the state it was in, if you're going to take it to a Spitfire factory to rebuild it professionally, it's going to cost about $2 million, I would think. Something like that to repair it to what it's in now.
The reason it takes so long is when you're renovating, majority of the rivets on this aeroplane were magnesium alloy, and magnesium alloy and aluminium alloy just don't mix. So you end up with corrosion, but because they're all countersunk rivets, every hole has to be increased in size, and you also have to dimple them. So if you consider the amount of time that it takes to put one rivet in, just multiply that by 10, and that's the time you have to spend on just one rivet. And when you consider there's something like 15,000 rivets on the
a lot of hours.
It's a lot of hours and a lot of manpower. But the best bit about this airplane is the fact that it's authentic. As it flew, we've just been talking to the family of the pilots who flew the airplane during the war, and this is still the same airframe. There's a new spar in the right wing, starboard wing. There's a few new skin panels with a different engine, but the rest of the airframe is original. Everything. It's only the fabric that's new. So everything has been carefully taken apart and then reassembled. That's why the time has been so long, 12 years.
Yeah, and to fly it basically hands off on its first flight was quite remarkable. I was expecting all sorts of problems, but you plan for the worst, and I was very surprised. I was very pleased. I think you were here on the first flight.
Yes.
It was just a great day. And it flew last on May the 1st, and that flight was what I've done, and that was the best one.
Well, you're only on the side of it.
I expect you probably know more about this than I do. Has anyone got any questions you want to?
Will it stay clip wing?
Why is it clip wing?
No, will it stay?
Oh, will it stay? Ah, well.
We actually have the tips.
But the tips are in the hangar.
We can fly it with the tips or without the tips, but you have to change. This is based on the squadron that it flew with.
And it had
the registration that's on it is based on that. If you take the clips off, then you have to change the painting as well.
It's quite an easy job, and they're made of wood with aluminium covering, so it's not a very long job to do.
No, it's not. Actually change them is not a big task at all.
What that will do is reduce the stalling speed. It's got more wing area with the tips on it, and it reduces the roll rate. This has got, the reason they took the wing tips off was to make it roll faster when it was low level, because they're always trying to improve on a design, and the way it was made was actually just gave it the opportunity to take the wing tips off, and it does make quite a significant difference in roll rate. So any little advantage, but obviously no good at high altitude because you have more wing area. Modern, that's very good.
Lots of people ask why this other blank is fitted. The wing is a C wing, that's why it's classed as a 5C. It's based upon the wing, and the wing was extensively modified from a B wing. The main reason for it was to add 2 more cannons, so they've got capability of 4 cannons and 4 machine guns, but they were so heavy with the 4 cannons, I don't think they ever flew with the 4 cannons. So that's why there's only the single cannon fitted and the blank fitted to the outboard side.
Remarkable bit of engineering. This aeroplane stalls power off at 72 miles an hour, and the maximum speed is 450. That's a huge range in speed. That's a civilian limit, the 450. It actually would go a lot faster, but start to get towards compressibility then, towards the speed of sound. So absolutely remarkable that a wing without any leading edge devices on it, or there are flaps on it, but they're just for landing. They don't do any lift at all. They're just up or down. So a wing that can go from that speed range is just remarkable. Tribute to the man that designed it.
Yes, that's what makes it special, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah,
made.
and it always talks to you. If you're getting near the buffet, it just shakes a little bit, and then it will stall. But I mean, it will just tell you that.
Again, that's good engineering.
Yeah.
I used to do similar things, and it would say, "Oh yeah, that machine's about to break down." Sure,
Yeah.
if it did.
Yeah.
Because you get to know those things.
Especially if you're in combat, you don't have time to look at the speed
Got a feeling
or
for your
anything really.
backside of it.
Does it try and drop a wing in stall? Is it?
It does, but it's very benign. It drops about 10 degrees to the left. That's probably something to do with maybe the rigging, but it's not a nasty wing drop. It's just very gentle. And the torque of the propeller helps. Handling. Yeah. Shall I start the take off? The landing. Obviously it's got a big engine, small rudder. The engine really will take over on the aeroplane, because if you put on full power on takeoff, it will just go sideways and straight on the nose. Someone demonstrated that in France a while ago. YouTube and saw that. But that was just mishandling. So to start off, you obviously make sure it's straight, and gradually put the power on. I put on about plus 2 pounds of boost to start with, just to get it rolling, and then gradually feed in up to about 6, very, very gently. Quite a lot of right aileron, and it will try and swing, so you need right rudder as well. And once you're in the air, you take the power back to 3,000 RPM, probably going 3,000. Back to 2650, and about +4 just to keep the noise down a little bit, and put the wheel brakes on, stop the wheels rotating, and then select gear up. It's very important to get the gear up on this aeroplane, because as you can see, it's only got one radiator. The early Spits had one radiator. The Mark 1 that's here today is very similar in design to this. The one I'm flying later on is the Mark 9, that's got 2 big radiators, and it's still important to get the wheels up. But on this one particularly, you've probably got about 2 minutes. If you haven't got the wheels up by then, it will boil over. So it's a constant battle between the torque of the engine and the heating of it, and these are all things you've got to be really ready to deal with. So the brakes go on and off, the wheels come up, you make sure that they're up. There's 2 red lights come on, and you can feel them going, and then it's flying around, and it flies like a chipmunk in the air. It's benign. It's just it's great. Yeah, really nice handling. So coming back into the circuit, we've obviously done the takeoff's been with flaps up. We come round. I put the wheels down fairly late because of this radiator problem, and the last thing you do is put the flaps down. And with the flaps down, it does affect the radiator even more. So you've probably got 2 or 3 minutes to get on the ground then, and you can see the radiator temperature creeping up and up and up towards 100. So by the time you've landed, that's just a normal close drop to 3.0. I was trying to 3.0. So you're going slower, so it's easier on the airframe rather than some people wheel them on, and they do tend to bounce on a short runway like this. You really want to be getting as slow as you can. And then the next thing is to get it to somewhere that's off the airfield before it boils over. And there's a little vent here on this side here, which is where the coolant comes out. And the first thing you notice is a puff of white smoke. I haven't had it on this airplane, but I certainly have on the Mark 1. That boils as soon as you look at it. I started off about 100 and back to 85 miles an hour. So it's not mind-blowingly fast. It's very controllable. The elevator is fantastically powerful. The rudder is remarkable. So you've got a lot of control. So in gusty, windy conditions, you probably want to come in about 90. And then it just drops the power. And with the wingtips off it, with the wingtips off it tends to settle very easily. It's got a slightly higher stall speed. And certainly for here, it's easy to land at the Mark 9, which I'll demonstrate later on. Because it gets its ground effect, and even with a little bit of wing on, extra bit of wing, and you're going a little bit too fast, it just won't settle down.
I think it's France with 597.
Yeah.
5
Yeah.
Tips, and he said he floated, he almost floated right down break.
Yeah.
He said it was quite tough.
Yeah.
And I read, the difference, it does tend to have a China ground, it tends to move down to,
It tends to settle down much easier, yeah.
I've seen that,
I mean, you only need, MH44's in knots, but you only need an extra 5 knots.
Yeah.
You probably use half the airfield.
How does this one handle the other one?
I've flown 3 other times. Fairly the same, yeah. You're absolutely right with the Hurricane. I've flown 11 Hurricanes.
So you must be.
And this one, and the same Shuttleworth Collection is. Can't put us on the film here.
That's right.
It's not my favourite. The one I'm flying today, I'm flying a Hurricane today, which is there's a Sea Hurricane today, and I'll find that one. That actually can be quite nice. But it's nothing like it. And the difference, I was asked once when I was early days in the fighter jet by Nicky Gray. He said, there's a Spitfire and a Hurricane here, we're going to Costa. Which one would you like to take? And I thought that's an impossible question to ask, because I was just lucky to take either one. And he said, well, I tell you what, I've done a lot in the Hurricane recently. Do you want to take the Spitfire? So I was happy, but I would have taken it.
Oh, must I?
What sort of
And I was walking out there, I suddenly think, oh, I've probably made it. You don't often get past that.
Giving you a impression of, obviously it isn't straightforward to fly the aircraft, you need to learn quite significantly these features, and I suppose to some extent there's an individuality to that. What's your opinion of the pilots who started in the war who just said, get on with it more or less and get on and fly it? Because naturally there's a bit more to it than just maybe a modern aircraft pointed to fly it.
I've got two fantastic advantages. I've got lots and lots of time on these airplanes, and I'm not being shot at. I'm not doing it in a real condition, but absolute total admiration. My dad was a wartime pilot, and he'd trained in Canada on, they had steermen with closed cockpits, it was so cold, and then he went on to Harvard, and he ended up one day, basically you just looked at the notes and you went flying. It must have been terrifying. He was out in Egypt, and they had one of these that was repaired. I don't know what mark it was, I think it was a 9. It had crashed in the desert and they'd repaired it. So they put a new propeller on it, straightened it out and said, right, one of you two is going to have to fly it. And they tossed a coin, my dad and his mate, and my dad lost. And he had to go fly it. And they said, well,
As you said, it's just taking you 5 flights to get it ready in, and you know exactly what it's going to do, and you're confident in it. But these guys are up there and more or less seemingly next day they're off fighting the war.
Yeah, and because of the performance of it compared to the Harvard, which is the most powerful thing they've flown, 600 or so. I think the Mark 9 is 1400. He said he was so far behind it, he managed to get the wheels up. And he just sat there watching the altitude going whizzing around, and speed and stuff, and really got lost. It was terrifying. But I have to say, I think the training was fantastic, full-time training. They started on a time, and I'm not quite sure how much they would fail people. I'm sure that if they would just give them a chance, and if they got on with it and they go, it's fine. Yeah, remarkable. They did crash a few. There were more people killed in flying training accidents in both of the World Wars, and I think the Gulf as well, were actually in combat. So that kind of puts it in perspective. I don't have any figures on how many people crashed, but
I was reading a book about a World War I pilot, and he didn't know anything, nobody knew anything.
No.
There's an aircraft up there, see what you can do and fly it, and that was almost what it was like. And he showed how his learning techniques of how to fly it developed over the years he flew it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, no manual to pick up.
no, the first one. And they did quite a lot about us, but when you were in a go situation in Scotland and you were doing one of these, I think you probably only had 5 hours on it, and then you'd be in combat. So people like Jeffrey Wellen, if everyone's ever read his book First Light, I recommend you read it. It is an amazing book how a 19-year-old gets to fly one of these and has a nervous breakdown and stresses. So he's one of my heroes. And I get to play with it, and I'm very lucky that I just show off in front of me so I don't get shot at. Yeah, no, thank you.
I understand this isn't flying today because it's finished its test flight, so I was wondering if you could just give us an insight into what its kind of workload of actually testing straight out of restoration.
Yeah, there's various things you look at. The problems that could arise are it not flying in a straight line. As I said earlier on, anyway, the first flight on this, it was very, very slightly left wing low. I mean, if you let go of the controls, it would roll probably at that rate, which is acceptable. You just have to have a bit of ownership. So I said to Derek, just leave it as it is, because there were a few issues with the propeller. The RPM should be 3,000 on takeoff, and it has to control it in the air as well. You can do all the ground running that you can, but it doesn't simulate going through the air, and that's where very fine tweaking. I think we turned it back half a turn on the prop RPM, that wasn't enough. Then it was turned back full turn, and that was too much. So then on the fourth flight, it was turned back in half a turn, and it's now perfect. On takeoff, it shows 3,000 RPM, and it's exactly as it should be. So things to sort of look at is the wheel's not coming up. Although we did lots of tests in the hangar, but with the air loads on it, it's all slightly different. Anything can happen, or hydraulic pump could fail. So that's something you'd be very quick to get onto. If the wheels didn't come up, you've probably got 2 minutes before it boils over. So background from that. And speed indicator not working. I've had RPM issue failures, instrument failures, and brake failures, and all sorts of things. Really, on the first one, it's a bit intrepid. I don't think my first landing was very smooth in this because the elevator was twitching a bit. And I said to Dodge, I think the CFG is slightly wrong. We looked at it very carefully, and it wasn't. It was just me. with all my mates standing around watching. And by the way, this airplane was the very first Spitfire I ever sat in. I used to live in Hangar 2, which is where the shop is now. And I was about between 6 and 10. And it was just a fuselage in the hangar, and I climbed in it. I remember climbing in it and seeing the leather seat. It was exactly the same, isn't it? And the smell of it, and I thought, no, I'll never fly like this. Here I am. And that was 1963. Sometime around then, 64 or 65, it was taken away and rebuilt. But as Derek says, it is an original aeroplane. It wasn't found on the beach in Dunkirk. Like the one down there. But that's a lovely thing as well. There's much more authentic stuff in this. But they're all good. I've never flown a bad one yet. I think that's
From an engineering point of view, I'd like just to add one last little thing. I'm a volunteer and I've only been on the aeroplane now for about 5 or 6 years. But primarily the renovation was managed by one engineer who no longer is with Shuttleworth. And I think we must let people know that Ian Larriman spent so much time in this aeroplane. It's a tribute to him and his dedication, as well as the number of volunteers like myself who have given time to renovate it. It's all been controlled by one person primarily, Ian Larriman, and I think he should be recognised for that.
Definitely. He's a personal friend of mine, and when I got to fly it on its first flight, he was actually standing the other side of the airfield at Tim Manners, in Tim Manners' garden, watching it go. And Tim offered him some champagne in a glass, and his hand was shaking so much. None of it went in. And the other thing about Ian is, I said to him, we would really like a horn, to tell the pilots the wheels aren't down. And I curse it every time I close the throttle and the horn goes off. It's really, really loud.
You forget.
And it's attached to the radio, but you can't. If you turn the radio volume down, it doesn't get rid of the horn noise. And then after that, even if you turn the radio off, there's still a horn in the airplane that tells you as well. So fingers crossed. I was going to land it with the wheels up. There we go. Yeah. I'm sorry it's not flying today. It's done 4 flights. It's done just about 2 hours flying. We'd like to do about 5 before you do a display in public, and obviously it has to have a permit to fly, and that's what we're working towards. The form is called a 233 form, and it has lots and lots of things they want to look at, because it has been flown for 12 years. It has a performance climb, which I did the other day, and a VNE dive, which is a dive at 450 miles an hour, and that will reduce the normal limit to 405. Take 10% off. So those are a few other little things we've got to do with it, but generally, here it is today. I'm sorry it's not flying. We were hoping that we might be able to do a sneaky air test, but it seems to have gone down in very quiet. I'm going to have to go to a briefing in 5 minutes. Tell me what I'm doing the rest of the day. So I hope you have a great day here. Thank you. Lunch video and enjoy it.